BRAN? Really? Okay. Nancy here, and welcome to another masking and bemoaning, where we are going to be reviewing the last episode of the series of Game of Thrones. That's 8-6, called the Iron Throne. I had initially done this already, but I thought that my review, much like the episode, was all over the place. So just to make it a little more concise, and it gave me time to actually watch it a couple more times. So spoilers are coming, although at this point you should know what it is because everyone has kind of put their opinion out of it. I did want to give myself a bit of time so I wouldn't have my knee-jerk reaction. And a lot of my views have not changed. So you remember, thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment. I want to see how you guys felt about it, although I know how some of you felt about it. What can I say about this episode? This episode was a mess. But I didn't hate it. Did not love it. I actually liked the bulk of the outcomes. My issue was with the seeding of how we got there. But that has been an ongoing problem with this show in particular. That's why I was out, but I didn't have super high hopes for this. Like, I guess I have been, like the shoe fell for me like with season 5. So I just been kind of going along to see how, Dan and Dave were going to finish this series out. So here we are. And when we open, Tyrion and Jon and Davos, I can stop saying and, are walking through the destruction that is left of King's Landing. It's raining ashes. It's like maybe it's like a handful of people survived. You see more corpses, mostly, women and kids, just corpses. Ash is really, give you a Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius situation going on. It is going over, just walking around with the mouth hanging out, because really, this is unnecessary. And you know what else which makes it really look like it's unnecessary is that Tyrion takes a beat to go to the Red Keep, which is where Cersei is. That's the main castle, if you don't know, right now. And a great portion of the castle is still standing, still in good condition. It looked like it was one stairwell that got really towed up in the basement, or the crypt the crypt where the dragon skulls were being hid. That's where Jaime and Cersei were. That's where Tyrion found their bodies, still clutching each other. He, of course, broke down and cried. The first face he sees is his sister and not Jaime, though he sees his hands and they gone. People were having these theories that they lived. So yeah, I know everybody was like, oh, why would he cry with them? I'm like, he's his family. And there's so many people that comment on this like they don't have family, and family is complicated. It just is. They've always had a complicated relationship. That's like, I'm under the impression that they wasn't even trying to kill each other for real, because it's so many times that they have apparently, don't nobody try to kill each other at this degree, at this number of times. So they have some kind of weird, they've always had a weird relationship. Cersei could have killed Tyrion when he walked up to the castle trying to reason with her about Missandei, but Missandei was gone. Missandei was there as a plot point like the rest of the black people in this show, which that will come up again since everybody now wants to talk about racism. But let's put a pin in there. Anywho, so walking through the city, see all there is, Grey Worm is still angry. And him and Jon have a little confrontation. Because the Grey Worm basically wants to kill, like the last 5 Lannister soldiers who are prisoners of war. And, and Jon is like, it's enough. We won. And Jon is clearly like blown. no pun intended by what's happening here. Like I was saying, you know, the whole thing last week, like I said, was a terrorist attack. It was egregious. We got the point. There was no point of her zigging and zagging up and through the streets. Like, you barely, like, at the end, the bread keep was basically fine. Besides, you know, a few stairwells. Okay, yeah, so anyway, he does that, and he was like, well, we're gonna go talk to the queen. But, you know, Grey Worm, he's mad, he's angry the rest of the time. He's angry as this show closes out. But, you know, I get it, but also, it is what it is. It's no point of being this angry. It's no point, like, that's the thing. A lot of this episode was pointless. It rendered a lot of things that we have seen over the seasons, just over the series, to be pointless. Yeah, and everything was a setup for another setup, and but that's just how they write. So I did not have high hopes for this episode. Oh, I forgot to mention, we're not having a mask today because I just got my eyebrows microbladed. Don't they look nice? But I can't put anything on my face around them at this point, so they had to heal up some more. They did good though, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so back to the story. We cut back, and you know, all the ever growing Dothraki, like, we thought all y'all niggas died, and then it's like, where did all of them come from? Same thing with the Unsullied. Y'all had like a block of 30 people the last time we saw you, then out of nowhere, here come all these Unsullied. Like, where you get all these blacks and browns right quick? Like, that's another thing. You just adding stuff to, you know, keep on with the story. And honestly, they didn't need this even this amount of army, because she had a whole dragon. It didn't even matter what the Unsullied and the Dothraki really did, even though they were helping, you know, cutting people up in the back, you know, being what they normally do, pillaging, raping, burning, killing up people. But then people couldn't run from a dragon. They was all trapped in that city. So that was, they were just putting it there for optics. So when we get it back, we do, Daenerys lands, and like, of course the best shot on there is like when Drogon takes off and his wings come up like behind her, which y'all can't really see my arms in the frame of this camera, but he comes up and the shot is really cool. But you know, there's always cool shots, there's always great cinematography on here. And then she comes out and gives her, you know, Hitler total war speech kind of situation, and people like, oh, it's not like that. It's like that. And Emilia Clarke, who quite frankly had been talking a little bit too much for my taste about what happened with her character, talking about, she said that she had to watch Hitler videos to speeches to get in the groove of Daenerys. Yeah, this was a natural next step to me. Or could it have been seeded better for y'all for whatever reason? Sure. But to me, this plot point of her becoming the Mad Queen, I wouldn't even call her mad, but just like at this point, y'all have not gotten to your mind, including Emilia Clarke, that this is basically just Dany's personality. Dany has always been entitled, in my opinion. And I soured on Dany pretty early, or I gave her a side eye ever since we got, there ain't, like, again, there ain't no black and brown people with no major roles in this, but you can find all, and for whatever reason, anytime there's an excuse in fantasy, which I don't think we should be begging people to be in their fantasies and all that, but diversity, and people don't like being called racist. They don't like being called racist, even though they continue to do racist things. But you couldn't find them any other time, but you found all these Negroes and Browns to lift up this Snow White woman. That's what gave me the side eye. And all of them were slaves and whatever. But that has also helped get everybody into the mind frame that somehow that made Daenerys anti-slavery, which they whitewashed her character to the point that even the actress playing her did not understand. Like, Daenerys had slaves. That she does. The Dothraki took slaves, which, I mean, it's maybe not seeming to be big of a deal because the Dothrakis are also black and brown. Yeah, black and brown. There was some black Dothraki, but yeah, they were also black and brown, so it was not based on race. So they had different slaves. That was just a part of their culture. They were like pirates of the land. They colonize, they pillage, and do all that. So that's just their culture. She just slipped right on in that because, you know, the Targaryens are Valerians, and Valerians had like the biggest slave hold of the known world in this world. But is that ever said on the show? No. But that goes into a lot of things that there's no context. But you know, the real issue really now why everyone is seeing her as why it seems like it's suddenly she went crazy and the way that she's been treating people is because now this is the first time she's dealt with, has done this, in my opinion, to a big group of white people. So most of her victims, or the people that she liberated, which that will come back up in a second, have been black and brown folks. Like the people that she's been burning up, the people that she has been objectifying and basically being an overlord to them, because she hasn't been, she's not a queen. She has been more of a conqueror, colonizer situation, tease, but we didn't look at that. It's never focused on. She was being lifted up to be some kind of hero, but we never actually saw the side of the people who were at the receiving end of this. And everyone's like, well, oh, they were all slavers and masters. I was like, everybody was not. So, but you didn't know, you wouldn't know that. Just like everyone in King's Landing is not a terrible person who deserved that. But I will say anybody that she has burned up, which I argue for Varys, which I get her burning Varys. Okay. Yes, he betrayed her. Even though he's in the right. And he's just doing what he normally does. He's always been concerned with the realm. And so that makes sense in that sense. But everyone she kind of burned up over here, it wasn't no good reason. Like people want to cite the Tarleys, like Sam's dad and brother. That's not a situation of war. That wasn't a war. You burnt up all this food, which, you know, that's another plot point that never gets brought back up again because miraculously food's not an issue anymore. And you burnt up all the gold that could have bought you other goods, which is weird because you have a whole group of people who are known for pillaging and taking things, so you could actually have funded everything that you needed. So that never comes up again, but they bring it up like because he's a bad person. But she doesn't know he's a bad person. You basically burned him, much like the Mad King, for expressing skepticism. And that's not worth, you know, killing him. That's not even, and honestly, that's not even really worth taking his lands. Like, you can have some kind of skepticism, but also we recognize that you are a conqueror, that you do give people a chance, you do have mercy, and that helps with your reputation overall. But she ain't concerned with none of that. Again, we get back to the whole Hitlerist total war. She was talking about we gonna liberate them. We ain't gonna stop at King's Landing. Can't stop, won't stop. We gonna hit it up to, we're going from Dorne to Winterfell. And of course, John was like, Winterfell, he don't speak Valyrian or Dothraki, whatever she was speaking right now. Both of these made up languages. So she was saying that to the Jade Sea or the Jade Islands, but that's not a place, but whatever. So to Lannisport, to the Iron Eye, to all of this, we gonna liberate them like we liberate these people here. And you know, and all of them are, you know, your bloodthirsty faves out here in the, not faves, because we don't know none of the Dothraki. Yeah, so they hype about it, but that's what they do. And you know, and Tyrion makes his way back, and after she gives this, and this is goes back the way that this was shot, and people are like, well, that's heavy-handed. I was like, well, this is actually not the first time that she has had these kind of shots that are reminiscent of you know, going back to those Nazi rallies. And even when you see now, like, well, I remember just growing up, because I was born in the 80s, that you just see, you would watch like those communist parades and those sections of people, anytime that people had dictators and everyone's just in that uniform blocks and all that. But the first thing is that she has always been, and I'll insert them as I'm talking if I can remember to and even get those. So somebody made a good point that the cinematographer shot it kind of like Triumph of the Will, which is in full disclosure, before y'all get into any kind of feeling, any kind of issue that I'm like a pro-Nazi or whatever, but we've had to watch this in a film class. I have a communications degree. we have had to watch this before in a film class that's set up, but like that's the film. It's a propaganda, Nazi propaganda film, Triumph of the Wheel, shot by Leni Riefenstahl, and you're basically watching it before, you know, if we're talking communications, you see it from the PR standpoint, and you see the cinematography. Like it's beautifully shot. It's, you know, of course it's trash, terrible people doing that, but it's beautifully shot, and some of those things are mirrored in the way Danny is presented. And like I kind of saw this thread either on Twitter or Tumblr where somebody brought that up, and somebody was trying to someone else that was, you know, Danny High was trying to argue like, well, who is Leni Riefenstahl? It's like, well, if you don't know who it is and someone's bringing that up as a point to talk about how this was shot and how this was effective, so you can really see her mindset and how this has been her mindset. She just had everyone that kind of kept her in check is dead, namely Jorah. Namely Jorah, she never really listened to Tyrion or Varys. So, but it was mainly when Jorah died. And Missandei was, you know, to me, which I can go back and look at it in retrospect, was kind of just naive and like, oh, she's the breaker of chains. It's like, she did that because she couldn't afford them Unsullied. That was one time. She did that so she can come in and rule over these people without looking at any steps to actually being effective and having them have a better situation. And, you know, this is left out of the show, but it's in the book for y'all. When the people of either, what is it, Marine, Astapor, Yunkai, all up in there, they back in slavery. But which, you know, you do find that out on the show. But the people, because it got so bad, like they done had plagues break out in the city. The Gray Mare, that's a plague, and basically it got so bad that the slaves would want to sell themselves back into slavery, and Danny was taking a cut because from anybody that sold themselves back. So your girl has always kind of done it like where it's beneficial to her. And we just haven't focused on it because we didn't care. You didn't care anything about these black and browns. Everyone is trash, and that's fine. But like, let's keep it, you know, let's keep it a book. Also, and that is kind of why I prefer Cersei to Danny, because Cersei was never trying to be a better person, was never trying to prove to you that she was a good person. And you know, at one point when she really stopped caring, Cersei was just like, yeah, I did it because I felt like it. What else you got to do? What you gonna do about it? R.I.P. to the great. But anywho, back to this. So Tyrion walks up and she was like, oh, you know, not all. You freed your brother. Jaime dead, it don't matter. He's kind of walking in the fall from that because we know Jaime is only somebody that cared about him. And Tyrion's, even how horrible they were to him, Tyrion's weak spot is his family. It always has been. That has governed his decisions, which that's understandable. Some people can't see past that. You know, they're trash, but it's his trash. So, you know, he loves them all the same. And he's like, yeah, I freed my brother. You slaughtered the city and everything. And he threw his little hand enamel pen down the stairs and everything stopped. It was just like, okay, we getting bucked now. Now you can finally see. And, you know, they carried Tyrion on off to jail. And she's walking away after her speech, and Tyrion gets put into jail. And Arya, with her ninja warrior training, just slips up beside Jon Snow, and he was like, oh my god, what are you doing here? And just this whole time, Jon was pissing me off, but Jon's been pissing me off, okay? But this episode, he was taking the cake. I was like, ooh, if I was either one of your sisters, I would just want to slap Jon. I was like, they got to be frustrated with you, because I'm frustrated with you watching this. So she was basically he was like, what are you doing here? He was like, I came, and Arya, you know, she came to complete her list. She never did. The building did that. Said, basically telling Jon that, you know, your girl slaughtered up all these innocent people, because Arya was on the ground again. That helped us get that internal look of this. And not only was she on the ground, she was trying to help people. Arya has always been about the small folk. And she was like, listen, for whatever reason, I realized that you, even though you are the oldest of our remaining brothers, you're the oldest of the siblings. And for whatever reason, you don't recognize that you in danger. Like, you are in danger, Jon. And because she knows who you are. Because even if they didn't know, you know, the secret's out about him being Rhaegar's son, which that was just another wasted plot point too, because it never came back up. And I would thought that would help him get his get out of jail free card, but he and she, you know, he was on his party line. She's our queen. It's not like that. And he was like, and we gonna all have to follow her. You know, had to bring it up. You think Sansa's gonna do that? But you need to get out of Dodge because you're in trouble, and you always going to be in trouble because you're a threat, because you are the you're the rightful heir. You're male. So here we are. And he was like, well, I'm gonna go you know, go talk to Tyrion. And he was like, well, wait for me by the gate so we can get up out of here. All right. So he goes to talk to Tyrion, and Tyrion is full blown like, now, you know, we have got to get rid of her. And he was like, well, I can't betray her. She's our queen. Oh, her friend lost her head. He's giving all the platitudes of why we don't need to change about here. And here's another thing, this whole issue with continuity. One of his excuses cannot be that she did this because she was watching somebody she cared about lose their head. Your sisters, specifically Sansa and Arya, was there in the place to be, so she knows what happened. Watch your father get beheaded. Forget about Rhaegar. Rhaegar ain't your daddy. Rhaegar wasn't ever there. He didn't do nothing but cause a bunch of trouble, because this is just a mess that we did not need to have. And it proved to be nothing of significance in this story. Okay, so, and you know, so your daddy did it, and you know that the people was out there doing it, but you still wouldn't burn up a whole city. You know, even if young Joff was still alive, gracing us with his great outfits and terrible personhood, he would still just focus on getting Joffrey. You wouldn't burn up all the King's Landing. I was like, this is disingenuous. Who is this? Where is Jonathan Snow? Because I don't know who this fool is. Boo Boo, the fool, has really just been taking over Jon this whole season. It's like y'all played him down to lift Dany up. It's like as soon as they met, his character just didn't stop making sense. Period. Like nothing he did made sense. And we can't be like they in love, because if they was so in love and they kept telling us that they are in love, you know, but did y'all tell Kit and Amelia? Because the chemistry was never there. It was whack. Like, you got more chemistry with your siblings. And like, you giving them more soft eyes and emotion than you supposed to give somebody that you supposedly in love with. Even though I think not only was that lie, just period, he was lying to himself, because his true love was Ygritte, and Ygritte died, you know, a few seasons ago. But there's that. So Tyrion had to be like, you know you wouldn't do all this just back and forth. And he had all the sayings and platitudes about what you know about battle. You ain't on the ground. Tyrion didn't fall in a battle before, but he do need to get somewhere and sit down, because he ain't a warrior. We have said this even from, you know, the Battle of Winterfell, and people were mad, specifically at Sansa. It'll come up again about her not being out on the battlefield. And she went to the crib with the women and the children. First of all, she's a woman and a child. And second, if you can't fight, you just in the way. Let's stop bringing that up as a plot point for anything. So, if you can't fight, you just in the way. So the best thing that you can do is get somewhere and sit down, which they finally convinced Tyrion to do, to get somewhere and sit down. Because ain't no point, he could have went on and got killed. That's it. So yeah, and then he was like, well, I'm not gonna betray our queen and all this, and I was just like, oh, Jon, I wanna doing this. And then that final thing that got him, it's like, well, And it was like, well, and you know, you heard the same speech that they was talking about, you know, this whole total war speech. Because you know she's not gonna stop, so she's got to be stopped. And it was like, well, they gonna recognize that she's good and do all this. It's like, well, how would they recognize from what that happened just today, John? That's frustrating. And then he had to brought up to you, do you think your sisters are going to kneel? And you know, that's what got them, because it's like both of them will be in danger. Because let's be real, Arya was ready to take up faces, and Sansa ain't never seen it for her. And it was like, and they not wrong. They was like, but they have also been around these kind of people. Both Arya and Sansa specifically have been around some of the worst people that we have seen. You know, throughout this series, they have been the people that have been around them. They've been around the Tywins, the Littlefingers, Cersei, Joffrey. They, you know, their dad is a warrior. Arya's an assassin, so she's around, you know, terrible people all the time. Sellswords and all this kind of thing. Not that, and Ramsay and Roose Bolton and Tywin Lannister. I think I said him before. But he's not only were they kind of like just met them in passing, like they were with these people, so they recognized these attributes. Like, it wasn't gonna go down smoothly. Now, I was hoping that something cool was gonna happen. We was maybe gonna get a little mini battle. We was gonna see some magic and some stuff, because, you know, the Starks are magical, even though it's never brought up. It's only like one of them are magical, even though, like, Arya being a faceless man is magical, but for whatever reason, we're just accepting it as fact, and it's not like fantastical on the show. We don't get none of that. You know, we get John going over there, still trying to have a heart-to-heart, going over there to go talk to Dany. Like he was waiting for her to say something right quick. And, you know, he stabs her. That's what happens. She touches the throne. You see the vision from, like, the House of the Undying, that bitch, where it was either Snow or Ash. That's still up for debate. I think it was maybe a combination, because we are still in winter, and Snow finally got to King's Landing. Before he goes in, you know, we see something move. I thought it was the floor. The rest of the keep crashing down in that section that was, you know, hit, that one section of the keep that was hit. And but it was Drogon and Snow, because I know he got to be tired. He was just zigging and zagging and burning and all that, but he just let Jon pass. Nothing. He was just like, oh, it's you. And so Jon goes in to have his final little heart-to-heart after Tyrion, put that bug in his ear, like, you know, basically you in danger and your family's in danger if you can't think of nobody else for whatever reason, Jon. And you know, she was talking about how Viserys, her brother from the first season, how he was talking about how the throne was made up of thousands of swords that got nailed down, and how, you know, she's like, well, I was only a little girl and it was 20. It was like, but you also being told this by another child. Or it was just like, they did this thing to kind of try to soften her, and like, oh my, her face lit up when she saw Jon, and Jon was just like, what the hell just happened? What are you talking about, girl? He was like, well, of course they're gonna want us. We liberated them. What do you mean liberated them? You destroyed them, girl. There were kids down there, women and kids that had nothing to do with, and they all poor. Like, and I know people try to be like, well, these are the same people that cheered because Ned died. First of all, Ned looked guilty in the way it was presented to them. They know they did not care for Cersei, and Cersei did not care for them. So I get that on both sides, but most of these people are poor. They hungry. The same group of people have been keeping them, shutting them out of having a better life, just period. They've been terrorized by the mountain. They have been all this stuff. The folks of King's Landing have been through it, and then you come through and burn them. You didn't help none of them. And it was real like, we're gonna come and cleanse them of their sins. So that's a whole different level of scary to me, because he was like, well, in this, but we gonna make a new world. How we gonna make a new world? We keep burning up people everywhere we go. And it was like, well, and it's like, well, what if the people that you have I'm getting parched, I'm running my mouth. The people that you have don't agree with this new world. Well, they don't have a choice. And she just said it so nice. And he was like, oh, Danny, I love you. Always, you'll always be my queen. Then, Kirkpatrick straight to the guts, to the internal organs killed. And then, you know, the person that came and gave the best performance was Drogon. We heard it, what it sounds like when dragons cry. That was well done. He was nudging her like a dog. He, you know, nudging her like a dog. And then Jon Snow's plot armor came up and saved him for whatever reason. Drogon sees that this is the only other person in the room and does not attempt to burn Jon. Now, I'm not talking about, oh, Jon is a Targaryen, so he's fireproof, so it doesn't mean anything. I mean, like, no, he never tried to burn Jon. He turns and burns the Iron Throne like somehow he has the political commentary, and he is the final strike, and what you know is what has been wrong with everybody this whole time, that this charity, is evil. Communism, anarchy. So, yeah. Then we cut to black. There's a lot of cutting to black to show change in time. And then clearly some weeks, maybe a month or two has passed. And we see someone getting Tyrion out of his cell. We know that because he is dusty and crusty, and his beard has grown long and shaggy, and he is brought up before a tribunal. And in this tribunal, we have the remaining lords that they could gather, that I guess the lords paramount, bigger lords. And even this starting out with, Grey Worm should have knew this was not going to be fair, because he was the only person still repping for, well, not the only one, we'll get to that, but he was the main person, repping for justice for Daenerys, which he's not from here. He don't have no power position in this world. The rest of the lords, the rest of the rogues don't know him from Adam. So why is his opinion valid at this point? Because it was needed for the drama of the show to have this gathering that really did not need to happen. Because the one thing that could have ended this is that, Jon is the rightful heir, and that's that. He can kill his usurpers. Point blank, period. There's nothing to talk about. Or what y'all gonna call him, the Queen Slayer? So, but it's like he's the right one, so he has the right to defend his throne, his title, regardless if he wanted it or not. But did none of that come up. What we got to do is basically watch Tyrion narrate the rest of the episode. This and all that stuff that we have been talking about was like the first 20 minutes. Like, they got Daenerys out of here quick and in a hurry, which that was fine. We need to move on. So, they have it in the tribunal, which was also not balanced. It was made up of Sam, Sir Davos, Brienne. Pod was there, but he was not part of the tribunal. You got Robert Aaron, you got Jon Royce of the Vale, you got Yara, you got the new Prince of Dorne, who looks kind of like Oscar Isaacs and has no name. And we want to talk about sexism, but the new prince, the new ruler of Dorne just had to be a prince that is nameless. Dorne, where they have equal primogeniture laws. And primogeniture laws basically means that you inherit based on your order of birth, not because you're a man or a woman. But they couldn't even give you that little bit. And y'all want to talk about sexism and racism. Look at Dorne. I've been mad since the 5th season, okay, if we really gonna talk about it. But anywho, and we got all the remaining Stark children. We got their uncle Edmure and some other randos that we don't really know, but they are, and we never find out who they are. The only reason we know that that's the Prince of Dorne because he is dressed in those fabulous gold and colorful dress coat things that I really liked for them. The Dornish had some of the best clothes. I liked their costuming. So, and as soon as they bring him out, Sansa's just like, where's Jon Snow? And that's the first thing. It was like, ain't nobody like, yay, Tyrion is still alive. It was like, nope, where's my brother? oh, you know, and Grey Worm tried to say something sassy, and then Sansa was like, well, you want to know, we got tens and thousands of Northmen, which where are all these extra people coming from, which we never see them. We got tens of thousands of Northmen ready to show you why it would be you know, it would not be in your best interest to lay a finger on Jon Snow. So I was just like, yes, Starklings, siblings, keeping it together, which really, you know, Stark siblings came out on top. And even so, actually, you know, like if we talk about who wins, it's also actually Hoster Tully. Hoster Tully is like the grandfather of the bulk of the people that ended up in power. Because at this ridiculous meeting, they basically decide, well, Tyrion basically decides, and they agree for whatever reason, that Bran is to be king because Bran has the best story. That was really the basis on which they did it, it was dumb. Which I'm not mad, which I know some people were mad at him becoming king, based on, you know, just mad at him becoming king because it came out of nowhere. So I guess that I'm not actually mad at that outcome, but again, where did this come from? He's got the best story, but you know what we didn't see for a good part of the series? That's Bran's story, and I would like to have seen that. That's all I'm saying. We just heard about him having all this power. I would like to see it. To see that. It's just so much that we didn't see, that was not fleshed out, that was not shown, not talked about. Like, we literally had a season where Bran just straight up wasn't there, but that was the same season for whatever reason. They kept on cutting back to Ramsay. Like, we get it, him cutting back to him torturing Theon. We get it, we got it, he's terrible, move on. But they did that. They uplifted the antagonist over the protagonist. They did that for several seasons. They did that with different people. That's just like, you know, even with Euron. Why is he here this late in the game? And he just seemed to be kind of pointless. You just make enough stuff for him to do that you have a story, but if it's not shocking, that they were not interested in showing it. So that's what we are. So throughout this, you know, Arya had to threaten Yara because Yara was still trying to find justice for Daenerys, even though Daenerys left you locked up and didn't write to see about you, and your brother died. So why would you be all and she's gone? There was no reason to lift up any huff, but Arya was like, you say something about my brother again, I'm gonna slit your throat. And we know Arya's about that life, and she clearly would be a legend at this time because she killed the Night King. If that even means anything to anybody else, we don't know. We ain't got time. They done got their money already. They knew we were still going to watch, and here we are. We can be mad about it or not be mad about it. It's just like, it was just a dud. It just kept on going on, making less sense the more it went on. And I'm just talking about the dialogue. Like, actually, them checking the points of that. Like, I could see them sending, like, Jon gets sent back to the wall. When I thought the wall got crumbled down, apparently not. But what does that even mean to be at the wall if the White Walkers aren't there anymore? And then second, another part that happens is that during this, while they're voting, Sansa says that she that the North will remain a independent kingdom. They have been fighting for independence really since Ned lost his head, which is true, and they have historically been isolationists, just like Dorne and just like the Iron Islands, but that never gets brought up, so there's no need to ask why did nobody else ask it, because they did. Here we are. And we don't know anything about anybody else's history. Here we are. And here's the other thing that's the problem, I think, of why a lot of people are mad and everything ended up so bad about the Starks. A Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, is about the Stark family. The Targaryens, which Daenerys is, there are like 5 books on them and more upcoming. There's a whole Fire and Blood, the World book. All of this is about Dunk and Egg. It's about the Targaryens. I said before we even started this whole journey of reviewing this final season that, because I've been done knew and I've been done told y'all that this was about the Starks, that they are the heart of the story. George R. R. Martin has said that. We literally started with them about their family. They got away from that to lift up Daenerys. That's why y'all thought she was the hero. But that was also done to shock you instead of seeding how she kind of has been trash. But it's like she, as a person, she's just trash, and that's fine. But I wish they would have stuck with her being trash. Because honestly, her turning villainous or whatever is more interesting than what she had been doing. I was tired of her walking around with that same facial expression making speeches. Like, let's get to it. Let's cut to the action. And you know, I love a good villain. And the fact that this was not leaned into sooner is to the detriment of the show, but whatever, it's over now. So she, you know, people had a problem with Sansa declaring that they were going to be independent, no one else saying anything, because there are also other kingdoms that are isolationists. I would also put up and argue with you that the way that this is filmed, this is a very open-ended end of a series if I've ever seen one. Most of our protagonists are not 21 years old. So keep that in mind. So you're dealing with a bunch of kids for the most part. And the compromise of this, for all this to happen, is that Jon would have to go and take the Black and, you know, basically go back to the Night's Watch. Which, people had an issue with this, and the reason why I did not have an issue with this is, one, of course, Grey Worm didn't like it, but that was the compromise, is that basically he'd be exiled for the rest of his life. Two, Grey Worm is leaving. Who in the Unsullied and all of them are going back to, they're going north. I don't know where the Dothraki are going. They up out of here, so what if to go, you know, rain some terror on some other black and brown folks of Essos. I guess they're going back over there. So, but they're leaving. So who would be there to enforce that he even stays up there? Of course, Jon would probably agree to this because, you know, Jon is he's been a sad sack for a while, and he's been all honorable to a default, which I'm gonna put that in quotations because I don't know, it's just dumb. But here's, you know, so there's no one here to enforce that. And the wall technically would be in your sisters, who has been fighting for you to be at Winterfell and for you to take King and trying to push you in the position where you need to go if you just would have listened to her. And that would protect all y'all's necks. Which is basically, that's the name of the game anyway, which people, for whatever reason, that's an issue when Sansa does it. Everyone else can play the Game of Thrones on a show called Game of Thrones, but when she does it, it's an issue. So, and sometimes you playing this game is not necessarily just for yourself, which obviously you do get benefits, but mostly it's for, you know, your house. Everybody's concerned about their own house. If it came down to it, I'm not picking some rando person, even though I would feel like they're a good person, over my brother who may or may not be trash. That's up for grabs. It's the same issue that we see with Tyrion. That's the same issue we've seen across the board with people dealing with their families. You picking your family. That's the point blank period. So all they had to do is wait for Grey Worm and them to leave, which they was already on the boat to go, and she can go pardon Jon. And actually, even, I don't know that Bran would have an issue, or Tyrion would have an issue with this, but they not part of the North is not part of the Seven Kingdoms anymore, and the Wall is in the North, so it's an independent kingdom, so they can kind of do whatever. Okay, so yeah, but that happens. They Bran tells Tyrion he's going to be the hand because he needs to fix all of the mistakes that he's made over this. He's gonna gonna spend the rest of his life fixing them. Which, okay, so it, you know, it's unfair that, you know, Jon gets exiled and Tyrion basically gets promoted back to his job, regardless of how he felt about it, but whatever. Tyrion is a fave. They weren't gonna let nothing happen to Tyrion. He's got plot armor. Two. So the only person that's really unhappy is Grey Worm, but like Grey Worm doesn't have a say. The person that really gave you any kind of say, and that's even minimum, is dead and gone, and her dragon carried her off into the sunset or wherever they went. He probably ate her. I could see Drogon doing that, and they're still looking for Drogon after all these months. So that phases off. Like this council meeting, like nothing really, they didn't really happen. Like Sam suggests democracy, and they laugh at him. It's like, oh, you gonna let the horses vote next? But then they kind of come up to they come up with a solution that is basically some form of democracy, even though that's not what they have, and that's what they have been doing up north. If nothing else, it had been kind of democratic, because Sansa and, you know, even Ned, when he was in a position, he let people have their say. They listened to their people's complaints and made, you know, and listened to, which that's not democracy. You're just taking advice from your advisors, but still, the people still have some sort of say, and they are respected. So I don't know how that's going to happen. It's just like the kingdom is more or less the same, given, besides having the Iron Throne, now the leaders will be, the king will be voted on. But I'm like, if you're doing that, what's the point of having a king? So, and they give Bran this terrible, he's Bran the Broken. Like, come on, y'all. Come on, like, just call him King Brandon if you're gonna do all that. Like, don't be like, here, Bran the Rebuilder, Bran the Wise, Bran the Eyes, because he's the three-eyed raven. You know, all sorts of goodness. Bran, you know, just, even, yeah, if we even brought old school, Bran the Builder 2, the second, you know. Which even time will tell, because it's Bran, how old is Bran? Maybe he's 15? No, that doesn't seem right. I don't just like, that's another thing. What's the timetable on this? That's just like, they just decided this season that Arya's 18. When she become 18? It ain't been, how many years have passed? Like, I know Maisie Williams is grown. Y'all just said that because y'all didn't want people to come after y'all again, because y'all again sowing some child in some weird sexual situation, which y'all been doing, and y'all got heat. So here we are. That's just also why the rape's down back too, because, you know, they, you know, released hot liquid fire when y'all raped Sansa for no reason. So here we are. And they have a council meeting. It cuts to black again. They have a council meeting. At this council meeting, which is conducted by the Hand, we see Davos, who's the master of ships. Sam has become a Grand Maester, even though he's got like a whole family with it. And the Citadel's still standing, so how does that even work now? But that never comes up, whatever. It's just like, we just glossing over, and it was just basically a setup to tell like another brothel dick joke. It was stupid. Bronn is the master of coin. Why is he the master of coin? He's a sales. Bronn, even though he is about his own money, is not trustworthy. Like, y'all don't have to check them books. Like, I'm just point blank period. And Brienne is head of the King's Guard. What does it mean to be in the King's Guard now? We don't know. It's like, we need another episode with a time jump, like, you know, 10, 15 years, yeah, maybe 10 years, yeah. So yeah, there's the joke that ends it is somewhat in a brothel with a honeycomb and a donkey. It was dumb. Yeah. And they still have positions to fill. We do see the goodbyes between all the Starks. Arya says she's not gonna go visit Jon at the Wall. She is going to go west of Westeros. She's gonna be, you know, Arya the Explorer. Sansa apologizes, which I don't think she should have, for revealing his secret, which it clearly needed to be put out there for whatever reason. Cause it's like, but if that's the case, Jon never should have said anything. So here we are. I'm not even mad at her for saying something, but he always needed some fire underneath him. I don't think it's a bad idea for him to go up to be at the Wall, even though I don't necessarily think that he's going to have to stay, because again, I just expressed why it doesn't matter that he's there. Because when he gets there, he kind of goes off with the wildlings, and, you know, him and Tormund and Ghost go out into the wilderness so they can resettle, because it's spring by the time that this happens. And but he needed to, even though it's messed up, it seemed that the wall was where he was his happiest, if John had it in him to be happy. Kind of like his bio father, like that's what they said about Rhaegar. Rhaegar didn't have it in him to be happy, that they didn't think that Rhaegar loved anybody. So, but that's neither here nor there, because that doesn't matter. That was just another plot point to just have Bran something to look at, I guess. So he could snitch and not snitch, so he could tell John, and this would be what's the thrust to get him to the throne. Like, apparently he always knew he was going to be on the throne. That's why he ain't been helping this whole time with anything, which that's fine, actually. Y'all was like, he knew what, and maybe, which people were like, okay, they were mad at this plot point, but I could also see Bran not interfering, because the last time he interfered, that's what happened, that drove Hodor to have that mental break that like kills him in the future, and you know, brain damage him in the past. So maybe that's his thing, to not have, even though he can see it, not have any hands-on experience or do anything to change it. Like, what is going to happen is going to happen. The past is the past, the future is the future. So yeah, okay. And yeah, and the closing montage is of the Starks. Arya gets her ship with her crew, which I didn't see, and people had like, well, people were like, oh, it's sad that yeah, the pack survived, but they're all separated. I'm also going to point out, like, yeah, that's sad, and they don't have time to do this. Which one, this being so open-ended gives all you fan fiction writers, you know, grounds to go make up a good ending, because there are some great bomb fanfics that has been, you know, miles above the writing on this show. Two, again, they're all very young, so I could even see with exploring, you're not even sure if Arya is going to stay doing that forever, and it's fine. She doesn't have to. She's like, again, no one is 20. And same thing with Sansa, which people like, oh, she did all that and she's alone in her castle with no family surrounding her, and she's the queen, and that's what she always wanted, rah, rah, rah. Well, first of all, y'all think Sansa, you know, is a snack. Let's keep it real. She's a pretty girl. She is in a position where she does not have to make any decisions, even though the way that she has been sold off into marriage and used as a pawn, I can see her not wanting to ever get married. But also, she's young. She's like, is she, again, not 20. So, and she's been married twice. So even 10 years, 15 years down the line, she's still young, can have kids. And it's like, she's pretty. She's in a position of power. And the Starks all have been set up to be likable people outside of this show, because it's never shown, for whatever reason, for them to be the protagonist. Again, they focus too much on the antagonist. I didn't like that we didn't see any togetherness from the Starks. We saw more of that with the Lannisters and their goodbyes than we did see any of that throughout the season of the Starks. We saw them get together one time to tell Jon to stop being stupid, and you know, so Dany is not right, and for him to tell them off camera once again that his real identity. We don't see any reactions. We don't see very much interaction between them. Even in that episode, which was it, the second episode, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode, where so many people sitting around and talking and reminiscing. We see that with the Stark kids. Not at one point. Like, this is the first, and I know they all have their traumas and all this, but this is the first time that they would have been home in a long time. So yeah, and that's how it ends. You know, you get the last shot is them you know, screaming out Queen in the North for Sansa. So she gets what that has been her goal, but not really even her goal, because I think that started being her goal a while ago. But she does become a queen, but she becomes a queen in her own right, instead of what she initially thought that she would be, is that she would be, you know, the wife to some great lord, or to the prince and king and all that, which that would have, for her position and where she was born in, she's the oldest daughter, Lord, she was, you know, that's also another, it's like that, it's all over the place. That would have been, that's Arya's options too, if we was gonna keep it realistic, because you use the daughters as political pawns, as Ned did. But the highest position that she could have got is basically become the queen by marriage. But in this case, because of everything that's happened for them and to her and to the Stark family and the North pursuing independence, even with Robb, and she's Robb's heir, that, you know, she can finally do it within her own right. She's learned some sort of governance, which, you know, that could have been seeded better too. But that's even from seasons ago. But that's always been the issue. We're just rushing through plot points. We've been doing that for a while now. So yeah, that's what happens. And her gown was beautiful. It had elements of all her family. I wish they had more shots of the dress. And we don't see her needle necklace thing anymore. So, but still very high neck and wrapped up with, you know, it's fur and it was blue and it had the werewood leaves and scales and the direwolves, and it was gray. She had a little direwolf crown. I thought it was beautiful. That was representing of all her family, and then like her fur cloak thing was like for Jon, and he's at the wall. And yeah, that was dope. I know people had an issue with it, but we for seasons, I have always thought that that particularly with Dan and Dave, unlike George R.R. Martin, that they plan their seasons as they come instead of that this is the end, and that they would have a couple of things like Arya killing the Night King. That's even 3 seasons ago. But like, if you knew how you were going to end it, you knew like in the middle of it that how you wanted to end instead of trying to shock people, which that's all the reason that Arya does kill the Night King. That comes out of nowhere as well. Same thing with Bran becoming king, which that's not, I mean, it's not so far gone, but like what are the seeds of that and even why? So, but that has been an ongoing problem with the show. I'm glad the spinoffs will not be sequels. The spinoffs are prequels. They will have all different, Dan and Dave are not involved with those. It's one I know is already in production. So that's something to do with the Children of the Forest, I think, and the creation of the White Walkers and all that. So that would be interesting. But that again depends on writing. I always thought that the writing has been the weakest point of this show. The show, when they ran out of source material, it just like they couldn't come up with original things, even though he gave you points of what's gonna happen, but you have to fill in those, and that's what you're being paid to do. But you know, Dan and Dave have been rewarded for mediocrity for years. Remember, the first time they really started getting Emmys was not with the Red Wedding stuff, and when it was really good and they really got us, and just people was just acting their face off, which I won't even put that on the actors, because it again goes back to writing. And they've always had good actors, but they've only had so much to work with that they didn't get an Emmy award. So they got to the first one they got for writing was that show where that girl's like, you like the bad pussy, and I was just like, what is this? Like, and then like, really? It's like, you got to write an award for the Battle of the Bastards, which, you know, that the episode great because it's a battle. There was not much writing in the actual words that actors were saying. Trash overall. So I mean, that's what we've been dealing with. They probably will get some for this final season, but I've always thought that they have deserved them for the cinematography, for the special effects and all that. It has always looked great, even though it's been dark, literally, in over the seasons. But just the script, when they ran out of book and source material, just like the script, this ain't it. Like, what time period are we supposed to be talking in? And why everything was a joke. Just even how they go back to like Ed Muir, they played him as a joke, but like what he was going through was quite serious. Like, he's basically, he lost his family and he lost his family and he lost his house, his literal house, his land, through the red wedding. Like, they killed his sister. Like, he doesn't know, he never really knew his mom because she died so young giving birth, as a lot of the women in this world do. Catelyn and them's mama died giving birth, so the only closest thing to a mom that he knew is Catelyn. So it's in that, you know, the red wedding is his wedding. He's with his new wife, and, you know, meanwhile they slaughtering his sister and his nephew. And he would have been there when Robb was born, because Robb was born at River Run, because there was a war going on. So he would remember all of that. But they always played it for laughs. Like, they played him initially for laughs, even when he was trying to, you know, shoot the arrow and light the funeral barge. That was played for laughs, which that's not funny, because like in the book he couldn't light it because he couldn't see through the tears, because it's like you had to do that because it's your father. And you know, the Blackfish wasn't mean to him in the books about it, because they were like, your dad, it's funny because your dad had the same issue when their father died, because he couldn't see through the tears to try to light this, and then you got to make it land. It's all in a river. There's a lot going on. So, but like, he always had a good heart, but everything was played for laughs. We always got time for dick jokes, but we ain't got time to, like, don't nobody understand the Children of the Forest. Don't nobody understand the White Walkers turned out to be a dud. All that stuff that's like mystical and fun, like the Zora High came up, prophecies don't mean anything. It's just like, why introduce them in the first place? And y'all are talking like people are just now mad at characters being assassinated, and mainly just mad about Dany. But like, Stannis, all the Sand Snakes, Alaria Sand, who must be dead by now. So it's been going, everything that happened was Dorne. Like, it was seeded so well with Oberyn, but then when you got to it, y'all was too much focused on, because the Dorne is not caught up with, you know, who you're sleeping with. So of course that means that they can't care about nothing else. It's like, and also they use Oberyn as a litmus for the rest of Dorne. Oberyn was not married. That's why he ain't got no problem getting all these bastards, and he got a parent and his girlfriend. That might be the reason why they don't get married, because somebody's gonna be like, hey, you just can't be out here like that if you somebody's husband. So yeah, I have talked too much. My voice is getting dry. My throat's getting dry, not my voice, but this was a mess. The rewatch value of this season is low. It has been, I haven't really rewatched since the fourth season, because it was just that, even with the, you know, used to get the DVDs, I got them up to the fourth season, and because I have not enjoyed the seasons as a whole for quite some time, like, there would be good stuff, there would be good episodes. This season, it was okay. That's it. And people are like, well, you shouldn't be complaining because you're getting a movie every week, movie length. That's neither here nor there. You could have had more, but they don't do well with more time, so I don't even think more time will fix it, because even the longer episodes didn't necessarily need to be longer. Like, there were too many cut to black scenes to cut to another scene. Like, come on. So here we are. Like, that's it. I'm excited that I'm glad that George R. R. Martin confirmed that he confirmed, he didn't confirm, like, the books are not going to end the same way as the show, which I don't think they would, because there's more characters. There's a lot of characters that are important in the book that never come on screen. So I'm not saying, like, the point of, like, Dany, like Bran becoming king. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but with him, it is going to make sense, and he is going to see it seeded for us to get there. His things always make sense, or even when it's kind of confusing, it's at least interesting. And not, he does not come for the philosophy of trying to shock you and that's what makes a good script. No, a good script is a good script. shock me by telling a good story. So y'all got, if y'all love Star Wars, y'all got to look forward to Dan and Dave ruining Star Wars for you. And maybe they won't. You know why? Because Disney is not gonna try to fumble their bag, but they're not good writers. Been saying it forever. They have okay, and when they get some help from outside, they just get too focused on things that are not important. Like, you got the same people that was just like, it made dramatic sense to us because we wanted it to. Just say you wanted it to. That doesn't mean it made sense. It didn't make sense. So here we are. Okay, let me end this. I've been rambling. This might be long. It's long. I hope it's not an hour, but all of these finale videos have been long. I do want to see, I will give the prequels a chance. And I am, quite frankly, I'm glad that this is over. Cause the fandom has lost their mind. It's like, but like it's been an issue with fandom going on for a while now, not just in Game of Thrones, but like even them doing that whole petition.